Devastating news has come out today that breakout wide receiver candidate Jayden Higgins has torn his ACL, and this creates a huge void for the Texans as Tank Dell is someone that's going to need to ramp up his recovery. Xavier Hutchinson is a guy that's going to have to step in and be the interim wide receiver too, and Jalen Knoll, who's been out all of training camp, will now have to be an important feature of this offense. But what if that wasn't the case? Today, I'll talk about three receivers that I think the Texans could look at to trade or sign in free agency post this Jayden Higgins injury. What's going on, everybody? It's Texans Takeover here with another video. And today, as I just said, I will be talking about three receivers that I think can step in and be that wide receiver too, as Jayden Higgins is out with an ACL injury. First, I want to talk about a guy that CJ Stroud is uberly familiar with from his Ohio State playing days. And that is none other than, you guessed it, Marvin Harrison Jr. from the Arizona Cardinals. The first round pick, I think fourth overall pick a couple of years ago, hasn't really lived up to the hype in the NFL. In his rookie season, he went for 62 catches for 885 yards and 8 touchdowns, which equates to 14.3 yards per catch. In 2025, he had a down year, only playing 12 games, though, with 41 receptions, 608 yards, and 4 touchdowns, equating to 14.8 yards per catch on 72 targets. He's someone that was hurt last season, but really got shown out by guys like Michael Wilson on the Cardinals. So it's interested to see where the Cardinals' standpoints will be on him. Would they be willing to trade him? He wins in the red zone. We know he has a huge ceiling back in his playing days from Ohio State with CJ Stroud. He's got the physical match, and he has an extension looming. Not this year, but after next season, he will technically be a free agent if the Cardinals do not want to pick up that fifth-year option. So if the Texans put in an adequate offer, could the Cardinals be a team that's looking to move on? And Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, could excel in a new scheme, getting away from Arizona, where at parts last season he kind of just looked disinterested with Kyler Murray at quarterback, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. It kind of looked like as the year went on, he was just less interested in what the Cardinals were doing. So maybe that change of scenery could allow a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. to start playing back to his potential that we saw coming out of college, where people were calling him potentially generational. I wasn't putting that tag on him. I'm putting the tag on, I believe, not his teammate, because Jeremiah Smith was a freshman last year, or no, 2 years ago. So maybe he was his teammate for a year, or I'm completely wrong. But I'm putting the generational tag on Jeremiah Smith. I didn't on Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out of the draft, but I thought he was an incredible receiver. I thought he was the best in his class by far. And it could be a guy that the Texans look at because he does win over the middle parts of the field. And if you put the ball on him, he should be able to catch the ball. I know he struggled with that a little bit last season, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great player, and I think a guy that the Texans could certainly look at to compete for that wide receiver 2 spot where he knows his role coming in because he's not going to beat out a guy like Nico Collins, whereas he was kind of just granted that wide receiver 1 role in Arizona where he kind of didn't really have to care until Michael Wilson started showing out, and now it seems like he's falling down the depth chart a little bit. So maybe the Texans could entice him and entice the Cardinals with an offer and see if they're willing to budge. Another guy that I thought could be very good for this Texans team, and he's not exactly the physical match to Jayden Higgins, but that's Kayshon Boutte from the New England Patriots. Sorry, I just completely blanked. But yeah, not a physical match. He's about 5'11", 195, I think. But he is in the Patriots offense, which is a very similar scheme to what Nick Haley runs for this Texans team. So I think it could be definitely an interesting option to bring him in just because he would understand his role, know what he needs to do coming in, kind of understands the playbook already. And it would save us from him torching us in the playoff games too. So there is that. But in 2024, he had 43 receptions for 589 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is a 13.7 yards per catch. In 2025, he had 33 receptions for 551 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is 16.7 yard per catch on 46 targets. So you can see he is a very deep threat, dependable guy, but he can make contested catches, and he is very electric over the middle parts of the field on those deep crossers, not exactly the intermediate crossers that you see Nico Collins and Jayden Higgins excelling at those, 10 to 15 yard marks where CJ Stroud just fakes a handoff, throws it right over the middle of the field, and they're able to corral it. That's not Kayshon Boutte's game. Kayshon Boutte's game is, if there's a post route, he's going to run the underneath crosser and make a 20-yard gain, a 30-yard gain. But I think that could be very, very important for this Texans offense. And then you have a guy like Xavier Hutchinson who knows how to block, kind of as that true wide receiver too. But if you want to, stretch the field, you put in Kayshon Boutte. Could definitely be a very, very interesting option for this Texans team. I don't think the price would be as much as a Marvin Harrison Jr. because I think the Patriots would be willing to trade him as they brought in A.J. Brown, as they brought in Romeo Dobbs, as they already have a guy like Kyle Williams who I think could take a big step up in year 2. So maybe the price for Kayshon Boutte is not too extravagant, in comparison to a Marvin Harrison Jr., where it might require like a second and a fourth. I think Kayshon Boutte could just be a top line day three pick, and you're able to bring him in. I think he would be able to do a very important role for this Texans team. So I think that is another target that the Texans should be looking at, is a guy from the New England Patriots in Kayshon Boutte. And last but not least, it's a guy who is currently a free agent, and he's a 32-year-old that played for the Bills and Saints last year. I don't think it's going to be a name that jumps off the charts, excuse me, but it is Brandon Cooks. He's a dependable target. You know what you're getting with Brandon Cooks, and that is going to be a guy that is going to be a dependable wide receiver for you. He's going to be a veteran that helps coach up the guys like Lewis Bond and Jalen Knoll to help them reach their full potential. And I think there is even potential that you go out and get a Kayshon Boutte and go get a Brandon Cooks, like a 2-and-1. In 2025, he had 24 receptions for 279 yards, no touchdowns, which equates to 11.6 yards per catch on 36 targets. He's kind of had that volume decline as his age has gotten higher. He's a 32-year-old now. He's not a physical match to a Jayden Higgins, but with the remainder of free agent options that are available, I know people are going to look at D Hop, but I think he is done in the NFL. I think Brandon Cooks still has a step left, and we'll see how that equates if the Texans were interested in him and decide to go in for him, because he has been a Texan before. So maybe we bring him back to Houston. You don't really know, but um, yeah, I think Brandon Cooks could be a guy that just comes in, helps kind of be that Robert Woods type player that will just coach up the room. Will be there when you need him on third down and stuff like that. So not exactly a Jayden Higgins, but definitely a dependable target that the Texans can lean on to really help them move the chains and keep this offense flowing. And I think he could definitely be a great mentor for the guys in that room as well. Um, so that's why I do suggest Brandon Cooks. But yeah, those are the three receivers that come to mind when I think of guys you could replace Jayden Higgins with for the course of this season. Marvin Harrison Jr. from the Arizona Cardinals, I think, would demand the most in terms of a package very easily. Um, and we don't know if the Cardinals will be a team that's willing to trade him. Kayshon Boutte, guy that's not a physical match but knows the scheme. And I don't think it would take a lot to bring him in. And then Brandon Cooks, a guy that is a free agent. So you wouldn't have to do anything besides just agree to terms with him to bring him in. So, yeah, let me know what y'all think about those three receivers down in the comment section below. Which one would you be the happiest with? Which one would you say hell no to? For me, I'd be ecstatic if we were able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. in through the door. I don't think it's too likely, but if CJ's like, hey, we could really use this guy without Jayden Higgins and he has a physical match, then I think the Texans could certainly look at that possibility. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about these three receivers down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.